Good afternoon. Now, the ongoing crisis meeting called by the Ministry of Labour over the nurses' strike is yet to take off. Labour Cabinet Secretary Phyllis Kandiye is set to chair the meeting that is also expected to include representatives of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission and, of course, the Council of Governors, as well as officials of the Kenya National Union of Nurses. Let's speak to our reporter Shadrach Miti, who has pitched a camp at the Ministry of Labour where that particular crisis meeting was set to be held. Shadrach, has anyone even showed up at the offices of the Ministry of Labour?
Well, Akisa, today's meeting was a very important meeting had it taken place as it was earlier scheduled. Remember, this meeting comes hot on the heels of another meeting or several meetings that were held yesterday separately, where the CS for Labour, Phyllis Kandiye, in the morning had a meeting with the representatives from the Council of Governors before later meeting the National Union of Nurses officials to try and at least come up with a way of solving this problem amicably. But today, where it was decided yesterday that after meeting those concerned parties separately, a meeting will be convened where all parties now involved were to meet and engage each other with a view to closing ranks and eventually coming up with a way on how this problem can be settled, that where nurses will be seen going back to work. But that never happened. We have been here since about 10:30, and we found some of the Kenya National Union of Nurses officials who had already arrived. And by 11 o'clock, all of them were here, led by their Deputy Secretary General, Maurice Opetu. But after waiting for about 30 extra minutes, by around 11:30 in the morning, they became impatient before they were communicated. It was communicated to them that the CS for Labour, Phyllis Kandiye, was not available and that the meeting will not take place as it was earlier scheduled. So they had no other choice but now to leave. And remember, before they left, they had time to speak to the media, where they expressed their frustration, saying that the county government, since the day they engaged them on the issues of this CBA, the county governments have not shown their commitment and their determination to ensure that this CBA is implemented and acted upon as it was discussed. And so for them, they feel, whereas on their part, they feel they are committed and given up everything within them, within their reach and within their powers to ensure that this stalemate is solved amicably. They feel the county government, through the Council of Governors, seem not to be so keen on ensuring that this problem is solved. And so for them, they have vowed that unless the CBA is acted upon and actualized as it was discussed and agreed between them and the county government, they're not going to go back to work. And for even if this meeting was to be held, they have made it clear that one thing they will not go back on is to discuss further on the issues of the CBA, on what should be there and what should not be there. But for them, they are saying the only thing they will be coming to discuss, if another meeting shall be scheduled, then it will be on how this CBA shall be implemented, and nothing more or nothing short of that. And so we do not know how or when this meeting shall again be convened, but what we know is that from even the ministry itself, we have been informed that the meeting shall not be taking place as it was earlier scheduled. So we shall only get to know when it shall be later communicated and an appropriate time set for further engagement. So until that one happens, we do not know exactly what happens in between. So that's the situation here, Akisa, and we promise that we shall continue keeping in touch with the situation so that we can keep on informing our viewers how the latest developments concerning this goes on. Akisa.
Shadrach, thank you for that. That's our reporter Shadrach Miti joining us from the Ministry of Health and not the Ministry of Labour. As earlier mentioned, the crisis meeting has failed to take off, but we continue to keep an eye on that situation. In Meru, residents have decried the ongoing nurses' strike. Let's sample a number of their comments.
Hakuna kitu yoyote tunafanyanga, hakuna kitu yoyote tunapatanga. sababu kazi inakuwa paralyzed upande hiyo hospitali.
Kwa outpatient manurses wanashughulika na wale madaktari wako, lakini ukija pande ya wale wako admitted, yani inpatient, hao ndio wako na shida kidogo, sababu unapata mtu amehudumiwa na daktari, lakini wale manurses husaidia hawako. So ile kitu naweza omba kama wananchi wa hii Kenya yetu ni shughuli kama ya nurses ama shughuli ya health iweze kushughulikiwa vizuri.
Well, and a senior medical practitioner has now weighed in on the issue. Professor Jackson Mosongo Bombaba is a specialist in hand surgery who recently returned home after 12 years studying in the US. Let's take a look at what he had to say about the current health crisis in the country.
Kenya, the doctors, they're very good, but there's something with they're lacking commitment, they're lacking perseverance, they're lacking that things were taught in medical school, do no wrong. The only thing I can say, which I do not believe that was handled very well, you cannot and you will not leave patients to die because you want to get paid. You can fight for yourself, but to leave people to die in the hospital, that's a bad